Meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Trails Commission to order. Margarita, would you please roll call?
Commission Chair Marty Rosen.
Present.
Commission Vice Chair Bill Zimmerman.
Here.
Commissioner Tom Gidroys.
Here.
Commissioner Ken Gaunt. Here. And Commissioner Richard Croy.
Here.
Thank you. Bill, would you please lead us in the flag?
Certainly. Please join me as we salute our nation's flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bill. That brings us to presentations. Item 4.1. And who am I going to? Oh, of course. Robert, please.
Thank you, Chair Rosen. Good evening, Commissioners. This evening, we have a special presentation. It's something new that we'd like to do every so often to recognize some of the employees and volunteers that support all of the activities and programs that we put on. Without them, we can't do it. And so this evening, we want to recognize those that have assisted us in the last few months, as well as soon as that part's done, I want to introduce you to a new addition to our team. So I'm going to call up our Community Services Supervisor, Jason Hendricks, to do the honors. And once he's completed, we want to encourage you guys to come down up front for a photo.
All right. Good evening, Chair Rosen, members of the Commission, members of the audience. Thank you for being here this evening. As Robert mentioned, the different activities, programs, and services we've been able to offer the first 4 months as our department have been outstanding services to the community. But it wouldn't have been possible without our staff and some of our great volunteers and interns. So tonight's a great opportunity to recognize some of those folks that have done some extraordinary work since we've been a department. So we'll start off. We're going to just say a couple of words about each of these individuals. We'll call them up, and then we'll do a group shot at the end. So please stay up here until everybody's had a chance to come up. So our first employee is actually, as luck would have it, is our first ever part-time Community Services Department employee. Came over from Valleywide, and he's done just a tremendous job at the Case and Acero Senior Center. He's done a great job. Basically, with anything we've asked him to do, he goes above and beyond each and every time, each and every day he's at work. Always has a smile on his face, always asking what else he can do. So we're just honored to have him. So if I could please bring up Cody House. And our next employee is what I'd like to consider a wrecker at heart. So he's all about recreation. He's gets involved in everything. I know he works for some other agencies which will not be mentioned, but he's now ours, and we're going to keep him because he does a great job every day he's there. He has a great relationship with the kids at Lazy Creek Rec Center doing the after-school program. He's definitely our go-to guy for that program. Very innovative, always thinking of new ideas to make the programs better and to make the experiences better for all the kids in the program. So thank you very much, and we'd like to bring up Mikey Reinhardt. Okay, and last but not least, and I should have mentioned, these are all by month. So Cody was actually our July 2015 Employee of the Month. Mikey was our September Employee of the Month. And I'll call up our August Employee of the Month, who's one of our go-to staff for rentals on the weekends. So when we have people renting out the facility, this gentleman is Johnny on the spot to help out with anything they may need. He goes above and beyond for them and just does a great job. We always get great reviews on the work that he's done to make people's experiences great at the Case and Acero Senior Center. So last but certainly not least, for our part-time staff employees of the month, we'll call up Stefan Beltran.
So, Commissioners, if you wouldn't join us up front for a photo with the employees.
Do these three first? and
Yes,
then the
please.
others?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, commissioners, if you want to stay up front so you have to go back and forth, we have a couple more.
So those gentlemen were our employees of the month that are paid staff members. But again, without volunteers and key interns for our programs, again, they would not be as successful. And tonight we're going to recognize 2 of our interns from the Santa Rosa Academy. We've had a fantastic relationship with the Santa Rosa Academy since we've become a department, and we look forward to continual growth with them. And this relationship with these 2 individuals specifically, they've just really gone above and beyond and done some great things. The recent Menifee birthday gala, they double-handedly put together the highlight reel, which kind of showcased the 7 years of great things that have occurred in this community. So they put that together on their Macs that were provided by the school, and they did it without a lot of guidance. They put their own twist on it, and it was very well received. And then on top of that, they came out to the event and helped volunteer there, helped out with decorations, and then they had to leave because it was a 21 and over event. So maybe in a few years I can come back and be a part of it. So without further ado, we're going to bring up our volunteers from Santa Rosa Academy. Actually, they're our interns from Santa Rosa Academy. And we'll start with Michaela Dunn. All right, and wouldn't have been a successful presentation without the help of this gentleman who, again, has helped out with the PowerPoint that we talked about. He's helped out with several flyers. He's helped out with the after-school program at Lazy Creek. Pretty much anything we've asked him to do, he's done it very well, very professionally. So we look forward to seeing his continual growth. So last but not least, William Hawley.
Well, I want to, before we move on, thank Jason and his staff for providing such great guidance to those employees. Again, I mentioned we're going to try to bring this back to you every so often to highlight some of the accomplishments of staff and community volunteers, interns alike. We've been very lucky to be in touch with such good people in our first year of operation, and especially on the volunteer front. The support level has just been something we did not expect. So we'll bring more to you. Next, I want to bring up Mark Cooper, our maintenance and landscape maintenance supervisor, to introduce a new addition to our team. As you recall from a prior commission meeting and then a subsequent council meeting, there was an approval to take on the responsibility of Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District 89-1C. And with that came an immense responsibility to inspect and oversee contract work, as well as doing irrigation repair, special projects, and everything else that comes with the district. And so Mark and I, we set out to bring on a person who embodied all the skill sets we needed to accomplish that and fully complement the team that we already have. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark, because he can introduce this person better than me. Go for it.
Good evening, commissioners. I want to welcome Kenny Roger. You can come on up here. He came from us, left for a little time, but he was with the city of San Jacinto for 5.5 years. Very good in CalSense irrigation, which is a big deal for us right now. He's really come along just in the first week. Everybody's getting along really good. It's clicking out there, and that's what we like. Can you say a word?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be on the team. Like you said, I started in San Jacinto and got a lot of experience there. And a couple years in between there. I had more of a wide range of experience through a little bit of mechanic work and some plumbing and stuff. So now I'm well-rounded, and I'm super excited to be on the team.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. Thanks, Mark.
So you heard him. He says he has mechanic experience. So when any of our trucks go down, we're calling Kenny. If it's broken, the gambler can fix it, right?
There you
Yeah.
go. Matter of
That's
fact,
his
I got
nickname.
I got a couple of sprinklers out at home. What are you doing this weekend?
Next, I wanted to invite up a representative from the Commission for Accreditation on Park and Recreation Agencies, also a local, I think many of you are very familiar as you sit on the Regional Parks Commission as well. But Brandy, is it Hune? Hune, okay. Brandy Hune is here to give a little bit of a presentation on what it means to be an accredited agency and the process for your consideration, and something we can talk more about in a future meeting. This is just to kind of give you information and break the ice about what it means and what the possible future is for this department and city.
Brandy, welcome. We haven't seen you in 2 hours.
I know, right?
Please.
Okay. I'm here. I'm the Chief of Business Operations for Riverside County Park District. I'm also a newly appointed CAPRA Commissioner. I do have handouts here of the PowerPoint if anybody would like a copy of that. Robert, if you'd like to. And I will start right into it. So an overview of agency accreditation. The CAPRA standards were developed in 1989 by the American Academy of Park and Recreation Administration and the National Recreation and Park Association. In 1993, the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies, or CAPRA, as we know it in short form, was established to implement and administer the program. The Commission is administratively supported by NRPA, but acts independently and under its own authority. It provides an authoritative assessment tool for park and recreation agencies, and it ensures compliance with the national standards of excellence. The accreditation process. So accreditation process, agencies are independently evaluated against established benchmarks. So in their national benchmarks, there's currently 151 standards. Of those standards, 37 are fundamental, 114 are considered non-fundamental. So in the accreditation process, you have to comply with all 37, and then you're required to comply with a minimum of 104 of the non-fundamental standards. These standards are comprehensive. They deal with all aspects of the agency, everything from financial management to planning to risk management to public safety to human resources. It's a wide variety of standards that you're looking at. The agency has 24 months from the date of application to complete their self-assessment. The accreditation process. So the accreditation process is a long process. It takes upward of about 2 years to go through the process. At first, you have to attend a CAPRA training session. And this training session is a session that's put on by the CAPRA Commission. And it basically goes through each standard and talks very thoroughly about each standard to make sure that the agencies have a good understanding of what the standard's asking for and what we're looking for with regards to proof or information with regards to that standard. Trainings are held during the NRPA, the annual conference each year, and then agencies can choose to host trainings as well. There's a number of different agencies throughout the country that are hosting these, and they're on the website, on NRPA's website, to find out the locations and dates of those trainings. You're required to go through that training no more than 5 years prior to applying to become an accredited agency. So the training is good for a 5-year period. The self-assessment report can take up to 2 years to put together, so it really is important once that training session and once you submit your application that you really start looking at the development of the self-assessment report, which basically you want to look at that and see, okay, what standards do we know we have? Start out with the fundamental standards and look at those. Some of the standards, one of the fundamental standards is a strategic plan, for instance. That's just one standard. And that standard, I mean, in our situation, we went out and hired a consultant to come in and help us put together our strategic plan. So that was a larger, another one's a master plan. So some of these fundamental standards do take a great deal of time if you don't have them already. So you want to do the development of the self-assessment report and then submit your self-assessment. Once the self-assessment has been submitted, an agency readiness review is done. And what that is that there's 2 commissioners from the CAPRA Commission that sit down, go through the self-assessment report, look to see if it looks on paper anyways that the agency has met the requirements. And if so, during this time they may contact the agency. They can mentor them throughout the entire time. But they can contact them, ask questions, gather some additional information, and they can also let the lead for the visit team know if there are some things that they would like the visit team to focus on when they come out to review the agency. Once the agency readiness review is completed, after that's been approved by the commissioners, then the agency will be okayed to set up the travel arrangements for the on-site visit. An on-site visit can be scheduled. The on-site visit is typically, it consists of 3 visitors. There's 1 lead and 2 other visitors, and it's 3 days. It's a 3-day intensive kind of a visit where they go through what's written on paper. They also look for proof that you're doing what you're saying you're doing. They go out and go out into the field and look at some of your sites. You can take that opportunity to give them some tours and highlight some of the areas that you're most proud of or focused on. But it's a really kind of intensive, they're in a room reviewing and going through everything for a lot of the 3-day period. And there's a lot of back and forth and gathering some additional information and those kinds of things. Once the on-site visit has been completed, the next step is to go for actually the agency accreditation, and that is during the commission's review and decision. That's done during the NRPA conference. It's the Monday before the conference starts, and they go through and then after that, it's an on-site visit every 5 years. There's an annual report that's due each year, and it's basically a statement saying that you're still reviewing your standards and that you're adhering to them and that you're making changes and that you're still complying with the standards that you were complying with when you initially became accredited. Costs associated with this. So there are costs that are associated. There's an initial accreditation and site review fee, or site review years. So those years, the initial accreditation, there's an application fee that's $100. There is a review fee that's based on the agency's annual operating budget. So it's a sliding scale based on the operating budget, and it varies between $165 and $3,300, depending on the size of the budget. Also, the site review year, the agency is required to cover the costs of the travel, meals, and accommodation costs for the review team. The review team does come from out of state, so that is a requirement. They don't want us reviewing our peers and knowing maybe some of you and having that kind of a thing, so they do want to get them from outside of the state. And the annual fee, there is an annual fee that's also based on your operating budget, and that's anywhere between $60 and $600. I'm sorry. Additional costs to consider when becoming accredited is the cost of meeting the standards. So there are costs. I mean, I've shared that with our strategic plan that we hired a consultant to come forward and assist us with putting together the strategic plan. So you want to look at kind of what costs that you're going to be expending out for that and what you can do internally. And then also the expenses of the review chair and any staff that are attending the accreditation hearing. So there is a requirement that you pay for the chair, the reviewer chair that came for the on-site review to attend the meeting. Not to attend the conference, but to come out and attend the actual accreditation hearing. And then any staff that you choose to send out for the hearing as well. And sometimes the reviewer, the lead chair, may have done more than one agency during that year, so it might be split. It wouldn't necessarily be the whole cost of it. It could be that it's someone who reviewed 2 different agencies and that you'd be splitting the costs with the other agency that they reviewed. Benefits for CAPRA accreditation. So for the agency, there's a number of benefits: increased efficiency and evidence of accountability, It helps identify areas of improvement. As you're going through the process, you really do, it forces you to really look at what you're doing and look at what the CAPRA accreditation standards are, and it really does help you look at process improvement. It enhances staff teamwork and pride. It is not something to be done by one individual. It is really a team effort to move this forward, even in 2 years. It's a real big team effort. It creates regular review of operations, policies, and procedures. It promotes continual improvement and also forces written documentation of policies and procedures. I don't know about you guys, but for us, we had a number of policies and procedures that were in here and not written down. And as we are expanding our agency, it's really helpful to make sure that we have all that written down. For the public, there's a number of benefits for the public as well. External recognition of a quality agency, assurance and validation of a well-administered services in accordance with the nationally approved professional practices. It improves customer service and quality services. It holds agencies accountable to the public, and there's potential for external financial support and savings to the public, which is also a benefit to the agency. Some benefits that our agency has personally experienced is that we've had staff gain knowledge. I mean, the knowledge that we've gained throughout this process really has contributed to the professional development of a number of our staff, myself included. It has been great for us to use with new hires. I am the chief of business operations, so I have the finance division, I have my grant writer, I have analysts. My group, right when they start, the first thing that I do is hand them Chapter 1. And Chapter 1 is agency authority, role, and responsibility, and it talks about how the agency was formed, what our vision, mission, and values are, what our goals and objectives are. It really does help to get them up to speed very fast, much faster than, oh shoot, I forgot I need to tell you about that. So it really does help in that way. It also gives us a central location to look up this information. So we have, ours is available on our intranet for all staff to look at any time, and there's links to everything. We also have a library that houses all of it in paper documents. And it really does help with when somebody's trying to figure out something. They're like, oh, let me look in the CAPRA standards and see if that was the standard. And they start to go through it. I personally access the self-assessment workbook. I have it sitting on my desk, and I access it at least once a week. So it really is valuable in that. I also don't have a great memory, so that's really nice too. It locks in some of our historical knowledge and practices. So we have a number of staff who have been with our agency for 20 plus years. And they're either just retired now or getting ready to retire. Our senior planner, he bought a house in New Orleans area, and we're just like, no, you can't leave. But it has helped us to capture the procedures from him that were only in his head, and he knows it all. So it's nice to be able to have it down in a document form and to be able to reference that and understand what he was doing and why. With all that said, pursuing accreditation is a great deal of work. It does require you to stay on top of changes. Since we became accredited 2 years ago, we have acquired a number of community centers, a number of community parks, basically expanded our operation so much that we're required to go back through and redo a number of our standards, or at least add to a number of our standards. The other thing that we experienced was our IT department went from being in individual departments to one huge department overseeing the whole county. And when they did that, they changed a number of the agency's websites, which is where I had all my links to, and all the links were broken. So now I have to go back and re-find all this information. Luckily, we had a seasonal person this summer that went through and did a lot of that for us. So it really does require, it is a living document. It requires that you're going back to it and you're accessing it and looking at it. Items to consider when pursuing accreditation. You want to obtain support from your boards, your other departments, and your elected officials. You do need some information from other departments to do this. Human Resources is its own chapter within the accreditation, and it has, 20-some standards that you're required to adhere to. And some standards were easy to find, others were not. I came from Human Resources, at the county. I worked there for 8 years prior to coming over to Park, so it was an easy chapter for me, but if somebody did not have that experience, it would have been much harder to try and figure out. It'd take much more time to figure out where to get all the information that you need. And the departments need to be able to work with you to provide the information that you need to complete the self-assessment workbook. You want to assemble a team. As I said before, it's not a one-person thing. We had a team, I think we started out with a team of 9 that were our core team, and then we had staff that were doing a lot of the work as well. But we had a core team, and I was designated the lead for our accreditation, and we would meet monthly. At first, we started out monthly, and would go through and really, we divvied out chapters, and we'd come through, and every month we would be required to have some progress done on our accreditation. We divided up the work. We reviewed the fundamental standards first, as I mentioned that before. It's really important, especially those fundamentals, because you cannot miss any of those. It's really important to look and see how much time is needed to get those fundamentals. And hopefully you'll be far along with the fundamentals when you start. You want to determine the format of the report and set up a filing system for the support documents. From the get-go, I had a template of how we were doing it, what it was to look like, how we were speaking when we were writing, to make sure that it was a cohesive document at the end and didn't look like 25 people put their thoughts into it, even though that's what it was. We created a dashboard to show the progress on each standard. So we had a dashboard that my finance manager created, that every month that we met, we could see what progress we were on our required standards, the fundamental standards and the non-fundamental, and where they were in the process. So if we needed to create a policy or a procedure for it, if we were writing it, if it was in the review period, where it was. And that was extremely helpful. We have sent that out to a couple of different agencies that requested it as well. So that was helpful. We had a staff writer on our team that ensured the template compliance and make sure that it sounded like it was being written by one person, and that all of our links worked and all those types of things. You want to, I said chart your progress, review each other's work. That was the other thing. When we went into the monthly meetings, we sat down and we'd have a copy of the standard, all our supporting documents, and we'd each read it and really read through to make sure that we were answering what the standard was asking, because it's really important. You can get sidetracked so easily on the first part of the standard and then realize you went one whole way and it's not what you need. So it was good to have that outside review of the people who weren't actually working on that standard to look at it. And that helped with us learning a lot about what was going on in our agency outside of our scope of area. Hold each other accountable. There was a number of times, Scott was one of our director was one of our 10 people or 9 people that were doing it. And there were a number of times where we're like, nope, you didn't answer it. So you really do need to hold each other accountable and make sure, because otherwise when the on-site review team gets there, they're going to be holding you accountable, so you might as well get the work all done on the front end. And then have fun with it. We had a lot of fun. There was a lot of struggles and along the way as well, but a lot of fun. And it really was a bonding experience with the group that brought us all together. We also used other agencies. So the County of San Diego, we went down and met with them. They became accredited before us. We went down and met with them. They showed us, they had file cabinets of documents that were their supporting documents. And they really shared with us what they did to get prepared, and we mimicked a lot of what they were doing. They also gave us a copy of their self-assessment. So talk to other agencies. Every agency that we've talked to has been happy to share their self-assessment. They put all that hard work into it. They want to share it. And if you can use any of it, by all means. So also the Knowledge Center on NRPA's website, a number of agencies have put up examples of the standards there, their responses to the standards. So it's good to kind of get an idea of, okay, well, this doesn't really fit our agency. How did another agency that's maybe similar to ours respond to it? So that was really helpful. And then currently there's 145 CAPRA accredited agencies. There are 38 states represented and 5 the military agencies that are in there as well. They have another division that's military accreditation. There's currently only 5 in California. So the City of Bakersfield, City of Carlsbad, County of San Diego, the Harupa Community Services District, and Riverside County. So there's 5 agencies, and there's no California agencies that are going for initial accreditation this next year. I think we have, I want to say there's 60-some agencies that are going for accreditation, or 50-some agencies, either accreditation or reaccreditation in the upcoming year. And that was all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
So 12 states don't count, huh?
Well, they don't count for accreditation. They don't. It's really starting to get its wings now. So there's a number of agencies that have been either interested in getting accreditation or have filed for to become accredited.
Yes, Rick?
I have a question for Brandy. In the report, you said the magic word. Does this, should we go through all this and get accredited, does it give you, when you're writing grants, does it give you some tactical advantage, when you're applying for federal funds, state funds, with that stamp on it, does it help us?
I feel that it does. We have used it since we've been applying for grants. We have been successful in a couple of the grants that we've applied for. I don't know if that was the factor, or if that was something that elevated us as an agency and made us a little bit more, attractive to the granting agency. I don't think it could hurt, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Brandy?
Yeah. How
Yes,
often does this academy actually get together and meet?
So we do most of our meetings over the phone or via conference call. We meet in person once a year at the NRPA conference. So we do our initial meeting at 7 a.m. and then this year we did accreditation hearings from 8:30 until 6 p.m.
Okay.
So
And the agencies that are accredited, do they ever get together as a group and have a convention or meeting or discussion amongst themselves?
they have not gotten together as a group, but that's a good idea. I like
Seems
that.
like it should be something that'd be the next logical step.
Yeah.
You're
We-
you're describing this reminds me of ISO certification.
It's very similar to ISO certification. I used to work in the auto industry, and we were ISO
Several
certified.
ISO
Yeah.
certifications.
Uh-huh.
It sounds like it. It's a great way to, as you say, get your thoughts together, build and organize your team.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of
Standard.
changeover in the past couple of years, and this has really helped us to maintain what we were trying to
Right,
accomplish.
you got continuity. There's always that document on the shelf, even if somebody's out with a cold or left.
Exactly.
That's true. It would be nice for us to do it. The question for us, I suppose, is right now, we're kind of just getting our sea legs. When would it be time to follow through on it?
Although that might be a nice time just because you're starting to create all your processes and procedures, so why not create them in alignment with what you're going to be,
Interesting point.
or at least looking at that as you're creating, maybe not going for accreditation right at this time, but looking at that as you're creating those types of documents.
Would it be something where we could get a copy of one of these documents, like the counties, just to have as a guideline, as a reference for ourselves?
Absolutely.
So,
The county of San Diego shared theirs with us. I would not be happy to share it with other agencies, for
that
sure.
would be a good starting point for us, just to have something to benchmark on for ourselves without committing to the whole program.
Since we went through accreditation, they've changed a couple of standards and added some standards to it. So as we're coming up to accreditation 2008, reaccreditation in 2018, we'll be required to adhere to the new standards. So a lot of them are the same, but some of them have changed. So we haven't had our change standards approved yet, but I'd be happy to share anything that we have.
I'll leave that up to Robert, but just a thought.
And I know the city of Carlsbad would be happy to share because we shared all of our stuff with them. So, and they did it in about a year. We took about 18 months of kind of really doing it. Most agencies, really, it's going to depend on what you already have established
You make a good
and how much
point.
time and effort.
We're just getting underway, so it's how you
Yeah.
look at it. But if you're going to do it right.
And besides, Robert has time on, I think, on Saturday between 8 and 8:15.
Always having breakfast.
I was going to say that is the difficult part, is to ask staff to commit to this when they're on top of all the duties that they're
Yes,
juggling already.
I'm joking, only half of the way.
He only has 15 minutes on Saturday. Yeah.
Any other questions of Brandy? And we shall thank you very much.
Thank you.
Allow you to go home to dinner.
Thanks. I'll avoid traffic, so.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to item number 5, Approval of meeting minutes of October 1. Are there any changes that need to be done? We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved unanimously. Now, technically, you're supposed to use the term Madam Clerk, not Miss. So what are we going to do? Make you an honorary Madam Clerk? Okay. Madam Clerk. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are no modifications.
Thank you. So the agenda is approved as is. Are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. That brings us to item 8.1, the review of TTM number 2015-165 and PP number 2015-164. And I'm going to hand it over to Robert again.
Thank you, Chair Rosen. This particular project is somewhat unique in that typically we wouldn't bring tentative tract maps and plot plans, thank you, plot plans for a commission if it did not have a need for a park or a proposed park to meet a Quimby requirement. However, this has somewhat of a unique situation between the tentative map and the plot plan. The applicant recently took both of these to Planning Commission, and there was some discussion about two components of this that the commission wanted to incorporate, and the applicant then approached the Community Services Department for additional feedback. And upon my review of it, I felt it was important to bring to you to get some consensus on. And namely, what I'm going to give you the details of it so that you have a better idea. On the screen here is really the north and south side of Holland is the project site, two different project sites that are being handled by the same developer, same applicant. This is just southeast of the college, catty corner to the college. And on the south side, there is single-family residence, proposed 68 of them. And on the north side, if you can go to the, oh, I have it, never mind. On the north side is a planned apartment complex, primarily senior housing opportunities. And what I want to highlight here is on the south side first. This particular plan, as you can see, does not incorporate any open space currently. You have in the upper left-hand corner a basin, which is a requirement of their improvements, but no open space for recreation. If you were to dive a little deeper, 68 units would require 1.075 acres of dedicated park space. This typically falls well under what we would want to accept as a public facility maintained by either the city CFD or other tax district. And so upon the Planning Commission's review, they didn't necessarily consider that, but they did want a park in this when they spoke to the applicant at the dais. And this commission, Park, Rec, and Trails Commission, really has the priority and authority over what types and sizes of open space should be included in projects consistent with the adopted master plan, which is nearly complete. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later this evening. I've seen some of the narrative in there, and it does spell out specifically that we would like to accept and incorporate into our system parks of no less size than 2.5 acres. And instead for this, we would recommend that the applicant simply pay the Quimby in lieu fee so that we could use those monies for a future park project, larger park project in the area.
I agree.
So that's the first component of this. Moving to the north side, Obviously, because it's an apartment complex, there is no, there certainly is a requirement for Quimby, but there is no opportunity for open space as a public facility. Again, there is an in lieu amount that would certainly be due to the city as a result. However, what you don't see on this conceptual along Holland on the north side would be the incorporation of a community trail. This is per the city's general plan and trails map. There is a east-west running trail. It's a 8-foot wide, and the applicant is willing to include that. And I promised that applicant we would bring this to this commission so that they could, so that you all could concur with that recommendation. If we incorporate it there, there is ample room to achieve that, as well as a curb-adjacent sidewalk and landscaping up to the property line, all within the right-of-way. The only modification to that would include, if you see in the bottom right-hand corner where it says proposed bus stop, it only says proposed. There is no requirement from RTA to incorporate one there, but if there were one, it would be up to our engineering department if it would need to be a turnout or street-level bus stop. If it were a turnout, that turnout would then require the trail and the sidewalk to merge, essentially tapering the trail off so that the turnout could be achieved. And the same thing at the corner of Holland and Hanover for a right-hand turn. There would be a tapering there for a right-hand turn pocket. All very doable and easy there to achieve because there's ample room within the right-of-way to do that. So staff is recommending that the park requirement on the south side of Holland be achieved by accepting an in lieu payment for the Quimby requirement, and then on the north side, the incorporation of the community trail along Holland between Hanover Lane and Palomar Road. That concludes my report. You do have the detailed maps in front of you in case you want to look a little closer, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Bill, I think you were first.
Thank you. I completely concur with staff's recommendations on both of those items, but I do want to get some clarification regarding the pocket parks. There was a previous project where the question was asked, if there's a park that's not dedicated to the city, it's HOA maintained, it's a small pocket park, does that count towards Quimby or not? And I still don't know the answer if that's a yes or a no.
So the answer is complicated. Currently, our Quimby ordinance does not, at least in text, give any official credit for parks, private or not. It only gives credit for or satisfies the requirement for public parks. State law does state that every agency is required to give some credit, but that credit amount is at the discretion of the agency. So in January, when we return, as we are supposed to every year, to revisit our Quimby fee resolution, we also want to update it to add a chapter regarding credit amount. There are several agencies in Southern California that have a chapter that really spell it out A to Z. If you have an HOA park, if it's gated, if it's not gated, what kind of amenities are in it, they all play a part in what percentage of credit the applicant could be due. Since we don't have any right now, it's up to the agency to determine what we want to give them.
Okay, that helps. And I understand the Planning Commission's intention. They want to make sure there's amenities within each neighborhood for recreation, and that's fair. But at the same time, you know, the Quimby thing is something that we all have said we want to collect as much as we can on small projects so that we can focus that or distill that toward a regional park or something like that. So that's helpful. The other question I was going to ask was regarding this northern piece where we're talking about having a trail as shown in our circulation element of the general plan along the north side of Holland Road. Would that also include striping for a bike lane along? And the reason I ask that is because this leads right to the future Holland overcrossing to get to the other side. And I would imagine a lot of people that are on the east side of the freeway are going to want to use bicycles to shop or do whatever they want to do on the west side. So.
It likely does include, I don't know if it's a class 1 or class 2, but I also would need to check with planning about what the conditions were for this applicant to do the improvements within the right-of-way beyond the curb. So I can check on that and come back to you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I have a,
Rick?
sorry. Yeah, I have a question regarding design also. If a bus stop is going to go in here, I would suggest moving it to either the east or the west side of the project because, as you said, Holland Road overpass, the flyover is going to be going in, and the speeds along Holland are not going to decrease, they're only going to increase. Because at that next block at Hanover, I think that's up just about where the bridge is going to start elevating. So for safety reasons, if this is going to be senior community, I would strongly suggest putting it over here towards the senior center or to the other side there just for safety reasons. Also, will the north side of this have access to Wheatfield? Because it's right there. Will there be a gate?
I don't know the answer to that question. It's not currently proposed for that.
You want to park, there's your park.
Yeah. You know, there, as you can see, there's a basin that wraps around the east and, I'm sorry, the west and the north side of the project site. And then where you can see it sort of tapers off into no man's land there.
Yeah.
That trench continues north the full length of the college and of this neighboring school until you get to, what is that, La Piedra?
Right.
And then it terminates. So I assume what you're referring to is connection at the northeast corner there, where it looks like a little parking lot.
Right, will there be an opportunity for these residents to just go through a
Walk
gate
over.
and be in the park?
Yeah, I can certainly check on that.
Good point.
And you'll come back, excuse me, you'll come back to us with that?
I can provide you with an update. Yeah.
And a quick question on the basin there, will that be a landscaped area, HOA maintained?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom, you?
I'm good.
Oh, you're good. I thought you had.
The only thing I'd add is I've included a couple pictures of the sections both east and west of the project site. So you can see on the eastward side there is currently a curb-adjacent sidewalk and then landscaping and then property line wall. There's an opportunity still to include a DG trail in that space. It would reduce the landscaping, but we could also reduce the sidewalk width because that's currently an 8-foot sidewalk, which is pretty substantial. It can go down as low as 5 feet. That's acceptable by our engineering team. And then on the westward side, there's a meandering sidewalk with a very deep right-of-way parkway from curb to property line that can easily be modified to include a DG trail to connect this community trail.
Isn't some of that going to go away with the bridge?
I think further down the road, that is the plan. And when it comes to that, that's when I think it's ideal time to talk about a trail improvement there.
And aesthetically, you're not going to believe this, but to me, it doesn't make sense to put a DG trail with split rail fence there because once again, you're creating another 2-block trail.
That's right.
So aesthetically, it should match what's on the east side there, which is a big wide sidewalk. If that was going to be there, that should have been put in there a long time ago. On the east side, east of Menifee Road, there is a trail that is the Holland Trail, which starts at, can't remember the name of the street, but it's a little bit up the hill there, and it does continue east. But aesthetically, I don't think I'd want to look at 2 blocks of split rail and then nothing. It doesn't, there's no gain for me.
And if you don't mind me interrupting,
No.
I think the original intention for DG and split rail was where we were going to have equestrian as one of the, and our circulation element just simply shows this as a community trail, which is hiking and biking, does not include equestrian along Holland.
So maybe the win here would be to put a nice big bike trail along there.
Yeah.
So if I can get clarification and hopefully a concurrence, the comment back to the applicant for at least this segment of the northern project site is that you would like to see sidewalk and DG trail or just sidewalk?
Sidewalk and definitely a bike
Yeah.
lane.
Bike lane and sidewalk?
Yes.
Okay. And because the standard from our engineering department is typically 6 feet wide sidewalk, there's still an opportunity to make it even larger than that, like it is on the eastward side. We can continue that on this side, and there is also the opportunity to make it either curb adjacent or meandering. So you see on the westward side it's meandering, and then on the eastward side it's curb adjacent.
Right.
I like the meandering personally. It's
Personally, I do too.
Breaks up the lines, yeah.
Yeah. Just makes it look nicer.
So I'll offer one other piece of feedback then. This project would certainly be, at least on the right-of-way side, would certainly be maintained by CFD. When you do a meandering sidewalk, you end up with pieces of landscaping that sometimes gets separated, you know, both sides, versus with the curb adjacent, you have a nice linear and more contiguous landscaping section, which is a lot easier for street trees. So it's something else to consider.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't do it, but, you know,
I think the what'll help too is find out where exactly the bridge is going to start, because I think it's about halfway to Antelope there. I think they're going to be tearing a bunch of that out. So, just something to consider.
Any further statements on this?
Can you go to the one that, yeah, that one? And this has nothing to do with Parks and Rec. This is more Planning Commission. But I don't know if these seniors that are gonna live here are gonna be very happy with what's proposed just to the north, which is a full athletic stadium and lights. And we're gonna have a football team here. It's gonna be very noisy. There will be concerts. I really wish that the applicant and the Planning Commission, when they first talked about this, would have discussed that a little bit, and maybe
We needed a 30,000-foot view.
somebody's not realizing what's coming, so. But anyway, has nothing to do with us. Just thought I'd throw it in there.
Doesn't mean we can't send it back to planning with a suggestion.
Planning Commission had a workshop, but not a hearing, is that right?
that's right.
So,
What we can do is incorporate, even though it's not related to parks, we can incorporate the comment from this commission in the staff report to the city council, because ultimately it's going to go there too.
that'd be good.
Yeah,
More awareness.
that's it. So let them be aware of it.
It's all about community design, not just one specific project.
So if I can just recap on the trail component, along Holland between Hanover and Palomar Road, the preference of the commission is to do a meandering in that segment on the north side, and then at the locations of the bus stop, taper it to accommodate a turnout if that's what engineering requires. And then it would be curb adjacent as it crosses the street to the eastward side.
That's right.
Okay.
With the suggestion to,
With the street bike trail, sorry.
with the suggestion that maybe put that bus stop on those little internal roads.
Yes.
And so, I think you have good direction on the plot plan. Have we talked much about the tentative map? So, as far as what is happening improvement-wise along the south side of Holland, landscaping to curb and all that, is there a sidewalk at all? Is it going to be matching similar?
Yeah, their plan is to have it as matching similar. In fact, on the handout I provided to you, you should have some cross-sections, I think on the very first page of it, the larger one, sorry.
This guy?
Yeah, there's a blow-up underneath your folder.
Oh, that's right.
I think there's some cross-sections that might help answer some of those questions.
Okay, 6-foot sidewalk, 21 foot from curb to right-of-way, right? 20,
It does say meandering on both sides.
and that's right, meandering. Good. Can I ask a question on this one at the bottom of the page, Overland Court? Is that a cul-de-sac that ends at a retention basin to the right?
It certainly looks that way, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. So there's an existing retention basin there. And I don't remember if Overland is currently built that way, and these people, are those homes facing Overland Court and taking access? I guess so.
Yes.
Okay, so that's existing. Got it. And so I'm curious about the dynamics of the Overland Court itself. I don't remember how well is it just half-width built to serve those homes currently, or is it full and they've got sidewalk in there? And then, bless you, and then where is it a wall that's gonna go along the south side of this proposed?
It says on the drawing here, existing and proposed, so it's halfway.
So right now they're half-width, okay. There's just a. Okay. And there is a 6-foot proposed sidewalk. Okay, good. All right.
All right.
I'm studying as I'm talking here.
Is there anything further on 8.1? In that case, let's go to 8.2. Review track 36485, PA 3040, Park Paseo conceptual plans.
Thank
And
you.
again, it's back to Robert.
Thank you, Marty. The slide I have up now before I get into the report is the overview of the specific plan for Audie Murphy Ranch. The copy in your packet has a little better detail. I didn't want to give you the full resolution one because the image was huge, but you get the idea of what was planned for this area. You have Newport basically bisecting the north and south areas of the specific plan. Everything to the south is primarily built out with the exception of the area furthest to the west. And you can see the locations in the light gray where the sports park currently is, and then on the north side of Newport where Spirit Park is currently under construction. The areas that we are bringing to you today for consideration are further north. On the north side of Salt Creek, there are, as you can see, 2 large paseos, which are not being reviewed tonight, but on the right-hand side paseo, at the bottom end, there is a park. It's a triangular-shaped park, and just below that, on the other side of that street, south side of that street, is a linear park, and that's really what you're reviewing this evening. And so some of the details, the park, triangular park, is referred to as Planning Area 30. It is 3.63 acres from center line in, which excludes the basin area, which I'll explain in a moment. And it's part of this specific plan 209A5 within track 36485. The park proposes a basketball court with lighting, tot lot, restroom facility, shade structure, picnic tables, restroom building, trash receptacles, benches, picnic tables, trash enclosure, barbecue, and trailheads. As I mentioned, there's a basin included. Also on site is a pump station, a water lift station, just off of the right side there. And the copy you have in front of you has got more detail. Again, I gave you the ledger size to give you a little bit better view if you want to flip to that and read the fine print. Ultimately, for this particular park staff's review, essentially was that we wanted to verify the actual acreage from edge of right-of-way to the interior, and excluding the lift station and basin and not including to the center line. So the applicant's application mentioned the acreage to center line, which would be from the center of the right-of-way, which we don't want to include, especially when we're calculating the Quimby requirement.
Right.
So we're waiting to hear from the applicant on that. Either way, though, the conceptual design won't change, just the acreage would. And the other note regarding this is to include a decorative perimeter fence around the basin and lift station areas to have full enclosure so that it's guarded from any access. We know that there's going to be a lot of folks trying to get to this park from the trail that traverses the south to the north on the left-hand side of the park, and so we want to focus that traffic to the entry points only, not through the basin. The basin would not be maintained by the department. It would be maintained likely by Public Works, as they hold the M4 permit for that type of work. It is funded, though. The maintenance of it would be funded by the CFD. Within the park, you can see it's, for the most part, a passive park, only a couple of active features with the basketball court and the tot lot. Before I move on to the linear park, maybe the best thing to do is get feedback from the commission on this one in particular.
Yes, Rick?
So to be clear, the area of the lift station should not be included in the Quimby requirements.
That's correct.
Couldn't agree more with that. That's,
I agree as well.
now, the, in the area that shows the structure on the left-hand side, that is basically flood control, correct?
It's not, when you say flood control, not Riverside County flood, that would be the city's responsibility through the CFD, but it is
It's there
intended.
for flood control
Yes, it
purposes.
is, yes.
Okay. To go down and obviously through the one on the south side to drain into Salt Creek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you say it one more time about this won't be maintained by an HOA or by city parks, is that correct?
It is intended, as the applicant submitted, it is intended to be maintained by the city through the CFD, not the HOA.
But the overriding authority is the water, right? The Water Control Board?
The overriding authority for
The-
Park
the
would-
mitigation
no,
area?
The park would be controlled by the city.
Correct.
Okay.
What they're proposing is just including a basin in the park design, in which case they would not get any credit
Yeah.
for the basin in their acreage.
I think what might have thrown Rick and me is you said it's because there's an MS4
All right.
right away, it triggers all of this flood control district.
Correct. So I only mentioned that because our community service staff would not maintain that component.
Okay.
Our public works
All right.
staff
So that's
would.
part of it. Okay.
Still city responsibility, though.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
And does that, well, let's move on to the next, 'cause I was gonna say, does that apply to the next one, or is that because it's down in Salt Creek or adjacent to it?
No, there's no water mitigation features in the linear park.
All right, thank you. I'm done with this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to the linear one.
Okay. The linear park is encompassed in plot plan 2015-232, considered or referred to as planning area 40E in the same specific plan. It encompasses 2.73 acres of acreage, or acres of park space. The applicants kind of referred to this as a linear park. In staff's review, though, it more resembles a parkway or paseo than an actual park. I think there are some things that are we recommend to bring that more into the park environment and less into just the trail. And so the recommendation from staff was to incorporate active park course fitness equipment along the DG Trail, coordinate the trail design with Riverside County Salt Creek trail plan to eliminate any duplication. Just to the south of this is a parallel running trail that the county's been planning for some time, and I'll talk a little bit more later this evening on it. And then provide detail on the trail termination at the south and north ends of the Paseo so that we can determine how this bleeds in, particularly on the south side. On the south side, if you look on your larger map, you'll see that it does bleed in, but there is a HOA facility, gated HOA facility right there.
Rec center?
Exactly, a rec center. And so the question to the applicant is, if you're using the trail and you walk toward the south end, do you have to then open a gate to continue through? Does it continue to wrap around the outside? How does that work? So that is one question, at least in staff's comments, we want to send back to the applicant.
Right, so in other words, if this is a public park that dead ends at a private facility, it doesn't make any sense.
Correct. And ideally, then, what we'd like to see is the DG bleed into, at very least, the regional trail along Salt Creek.
It's all about connectivity.
That's right.
A question
How
that,
wide is this?
I'm sorry,
Not how long, but how wide?
the total area
Yeah.
of the,
Well,
the
whatever you
linear
call it.
park? I don't have that. The scale is on the bottom hand corner of your larger printout. And I want to say it goes from 40 feet all the way up to, at the widest point, it's probably 120 or so. That's my guess at the widest point.
Maybe more,
Yeah, it could be.
because Audie Murphy Road is right next to it. And it's about the same at the narrowest point,
Yes.
and that's, I don't know how wide, it's a single lane each way, so that's 60?
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me a more appropriate description is a green belt. There's a lot of nice green belts around, but it seems park is inappropriate, the word.
Or Paseo?
Or Paseo is,
It's really not a park. Not big enough.
I think independent of what we end up ultimately labeling it, the applicant's desire is going to be to ensure that we allow the green space to be counted toward their Quimby requirement, which staff doesn't have any issue with, so long as there are some active features included. The parkour
yeah.
stations is just one opportunity. We do know that the applicant will want to know quantities of those, and
Yeah.
staff can certainly place them on here. But if there's something in particular the commission would like to see, definitely let us know.
When Marty and I went several months ago to a dedication up in Eastvale of it was kind of a similar shaped park. They had those stations, the fitness stations, and very popular, really popular. So I would definitely could see people walking along here and, doing this and that and whatever.
That's what distinguishes it from just being
Yes.
a green space, like you were
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
It has utility.
Yeah.
To me, a trail is a linear park.
Yeah.
I think it's okay design. We do need to connect with the county. That's the biggest thing.
I'm just curious, it looks, K&A's got a drawing here, and it's this black and white one. And it shows that along the south perimeter of this, I'm gonna call it a Paseo, is an access road. And then, I'm just curious, is there a slope of riprap or something that's gonna help to protect this along that channel?
So they were pointing out a fence line to go between that and the Salt Creek, which is supposedly a different elevation. And again, that's why we want to have them talk to the county about this, because it doesn't make sense to design the two independent of each other, and
You've got one up here and one down here.
exactly. So I was going to mention it later, but I can bring it up now. We are meeting with Riverside County about the Salt Creek Trail next week, and we'll bring all of this up and then likely schedule another meeting with the developer, Brookfield, and the county, so that we can spell this all out. I have a feeling, though, that at this moment, the county's set in their design. They're ready to move. They probably won't want to modify too much, because I think the Board of Supervisors already approved what they had, but Brookfield would have an opportunity to somehow complement what they've already got.
Good.
Yeah, it makes sense to get more bang for your buck if you connect them too.
Any further comments?
Just that it really should contribute towards how much acreage they are putting in.
Yeah,
as a
I
park.
agree. It's not, let's call it conventional, but it is parkland. If there's nothing else, then I'm going to move on to 8.3 and back to Robert.
Last one for the night on the conceptuals. Get to it. Okay, this item is for the review and comment on Plat Plan 2015-225. It proposes planning area 6B, which is a 5.52 acre park, part of the Pacific Mayfield specific plan in track 28794. You may recall, sorry, the developer, the applicant is Pacific Communities. You may recall a review in one of my updates from months ago that Pacific Communities had submitted resubmitted a full working drawing plan set to us for review on Planning Area 6C, which was further, or I guess I should say further north, closer to Newport. And so what I have on the screen here is their implementation map. It's a little dated, and so the road running through the middle of it is Evans Road. If you were to continue up, you would run into Newport, and on the left-hand side would be our headquarters. The park that's on the furthest north on this screen, that is planning area 6C. That working drawings were approved by the county years and years ago. They had resubmitted, and in the resubmittal had a new design to meet water requirements as well as other efficiencies. And so we're still waiting for them to resubmit on their change drawings. But the item that you're reviewing is this one further down, which is at the intersection of Evans and La Piedra. And so this proposed park is to include a basketball court with lighting, tot lot, restroom facility, shade structures, picnic tables, trash receptacles, benches, ADA enclosure for trash, barbecues, a soccer multi-purpose athletic field.
6.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm just trying to
He was saying.
put it in the right place. This
Oh.
is 6. This is 6.
Yeah, the lettering is backwards. That's just how the specific plan had them marked.
And we were confused because in the staff report, it said 6C is a 2.5 acre park. And
It is smaller.
how can it's,
Look at the sizes,
Bigger.
though.
Yeah, that exactly. So the exhibit for implementation is not accurate. It's old.
oh,
So they had never resubmitted a new implementation plan that showed 6C being smaller. It actually is smaller. You'll recall it does sit on that corner, but it has 2 dog legs that go out further, and the dwelling units actually creep into the park in the middle of it.
okay.
So that's
this-
why it looks
this is-
different now than what it actually is. Yes.
Got it, thanks.
Let's see, it also has a parking lot, tennis courts, perimeter walking path, and a landscape slope along the south and west sides of the park. Staff's review of this and comments included the incorporation of a trail, an 8-foot community trail on the west side of Evans Road, per the general plan, through the entire scope of the track. So that would mean all along Evans throughout the entire development. And then ensure both tennis courts and basketball courts are lit for evening use, and verify the minimum number of vehicles entrances to the parking lot, because as soon as you reach a certain threshold, you might need additional entrance and exit. So other than that, we did meet with the applicant before they submitted this conceptual. Originally, the open playing area was much smaller. It had additional sidewalks through it and wasn't terribly functional for active play. And this is a result of their revisions. That's the extent of staff's comments. I have included in the staff report some of the conditions for completion of this. The applicant is behind schedule on 6C, and the community that already lives there is anxiously awaiting the installation of 6C. So
Is it imminent?
Yes, the applicant wanted to delay it even further, and between community services and planning, we basically said no. And we think that's the right course of action. So that is my report. I can answer any questions and incorporate any feedback you all might have.
Is the soccer field regulation size?
And then some. It's actually larger, so we can accommodate many more groups for practice play.
I have a question. So this matrix that's talking about when certain things should be completed, is that what's existing right now? Is that?
No, we've actually bumped it about 15 minutes later in all areas, just to give them some breathing room.
Okay.
And they still wanted it later than that. This is from staff's perspective, this is what we would be, we're willing to compromise on. We do not want to go any later than this.
Okay.
But 6B doesn't get done until the 300th building?
To give you a point of reference, they've already exceeded 200 units. So,
Getting close.
yes. And the original conditions for 6C said that they were supposed to have it done by 200.
Yeah, we certainly don't want any more of that
Delays.
situation that we're also familiar with, where,
I will give you some of staff's reasoning is certainly we want to work with developers, we want to be friendly.
Sure.
But in addition to that, this project is an old one. It's a holdover from county days. And it was annexed into the CSA 145. And since we've taken on the CSA, our assessment of the budget is that it's run in deficit for too many years. So we would love for this park to come sooner, although it makes most sense to have more units built and occupied before we do that, so there's tax assessments to pay for the maintenance. If there was a reserve, like there should be, like a healthy reserve, then we would stick to the 200, but we know there isn't, so we want to provide a little more buffer to take care of the maintenance when it is ready.
and a quick question for you, is this, because it's an old map, is this the old requirement of 3 per thousand or 5?
It's a good question. It would be, we would not be able to enforce 5.
Yeah,
I have not done the count
yeah,
to know for sure if it is or isn't.
yeah. I can't see that small, so I can't get,
Yep.
but it's a lot of homes, and it does seem some pretty good park space there, but I was just curious about that.
Anything else? Okay. In that case, we will go to item number 9. And we're back to Robert.
I'm going to
9-1, Capital Improvement Program.
I'm going to turn over the balance of the updates to staff, and Alan will kick it off.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. I'll be providing a short update on capital improvements program. Highlighted in the red print is the updated information for project updates.
Where'd we get that?
CS004, Sun City Boulevard Median Landscaping. Staff has prepared contract documents for City Council approval for next council meeting on 11/18. CS006, public picnic shelter improvements. Staff has received designs and is preparing bid specifications. CS007, park furnishings replacement. Staff is preparing bid specifications. CS009, irrigation control system upgrades. Staff has completed upgrading 8 CalSense controllers, and the IT department is preparing to install central control software. And then CS025, AMR skate park security enhancements. Staff is preparing bid specifications for additional security fencing and security cameras. Forgot the camera part. All right, next slide. This shows pictures, diagrams, and the products that we've been using for our capital improvements project. So CS006, the picnic shelters, that's a picture of a design, and I'm working on estimates for ELP Peterson Park. CS009, irrigation control upgrades. The picture on the top right corner shows the ET1, which is the old model, the first generation, and the blue controller on the right is the newest ET2000E. And IT department will be installing a central control software. So Mark's computer, my computer, will be able to turn on and turn off the irrigation, make modifications straight from the computer. And then CS008, restroom furnishings project. That middle picture on the left is a stainless steel vandal-resistant toilet roll dispenser. That one is at, I believe, ELP Peterson Park. And we put those at various locations. We had a resident stealing toilet paper and burning the toilet paper roll, so we upgraded to stainless steel. And then CS014, the LED light conversion project. Staff has ordered LED park-like housings for Lazy Creek Park. We had an incident at one of the at Lazy Creek Park where a resident drove onto the field and hit a light. So we decided to start there and upgrade the park lights to LED. And then CS026, maintenance storage project. The picture on the bottom left is the new roll-up door at ELP Peterson Park. And then the picture on the right is a picture of the KC network connection. It's a new IT rack and switch that was installed, and IT department will be making the connections for us.
Questions? Maybe you can refresh my memory. What furnishings are being replaced on 007?
Oh, that one's park furnishings. That we're going to be replacing all the broken park benches, picnic tables, replacing those with the newest city standard ones online.
And adding in some parks that don't have any. So Lyle Marsh, there's nice shade structures out there with nothing underneath them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is really missed opportunity for us to generate additional revenue because the shelter rentals have been really popular. And you'll see that in the later report too.
9.2?
Just a brief update. I think some of this includes what you've already reviewed this evening. The only changes is actually item number 4 is not a change. It's nearly complete. Final walk is scheduled, I believe, in a couple of weeks for Spirit Park, and the opening is still scheduled for December 5th. You're going to start seeing some advertising for that very, very soon. Moving down to number 8, Central Park, we received plan check number 5, and we're reviewing. There were minor edits to plan check 4. We intend to be able to sign this set and get the Mylars in so they can start the work. And then number 11, as you will all know, the County Board of Supervisors approved the Salt Creek Trail project, and we're going to be meeting with county staff next week about that project. Moving down, number 25 is the one you reviewed, one of the ones you reviewed this evening. We'll provide comments back to the applicant, and then wait for their revisions before they move forward with the entitlement process. And then number 26 actually is not a change. What is pending, though, is meeting with the developer to discuss the consolidation of parks that were originally planned in their specific plan to one larger regional park. And then lastly, the other one that you reviewed this evening is the 5.52 acre. We'll provide those comments back to the developer as well, and I can give you an update at a future meeting.
On item 11, when you guys go to the county for the Salt Creek, maybe if you could scratch a question down for me. The ultimate design of the Salt Creek Trail was supposed to be a Class 1 bike trail on one side of the trail, one side of the creek, and a DG trail on the other side. Are those design features still, I'd like to know.
So would I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, with the stuff going on under the freeway, let's make sure we can still get under that freeway and access is not blocked, because that's the whole point, is being able to go.
They did provide some preliminary documents that I haven't had a chance to dive into, but from some of the line art, it looks like, yeah, they've accounted for access under the freeway.
Okay.
And I spoke to Jonathan about that, and he said he checked and it's still there. It's just that they're working,
Yeah.
and every now and then,
Yeah.
things get put behind it.
Okay.
So how much clearance are they talking about?
Enough for a person and a person on a horse to ride on.
I think the standard's 12 feet.
Okay.
So similar to Santa Ana River, anytime there's a storm event, it usually gets closed.
Yeah.
So
You're not riding your horse in a storm anymore. You're smart.
Not usually.
You're smart.
Just a quick question about KB and number 1. There is still no resolution?
not right now. I understand that it's being discussed with our city attorney still. So I don't know if that means there's pending litigation. I don't know, but we are waiting.
It's been a long time, that's why I was asking.
Yes, it has.
Okay, and let us go to 9.3.
Good evening, Chair Rosen, members of the commission. Jason Hendricks, Community Services Supervisor. Going to be giving a brief report on the Recreation Division activities for the month of October. The month of October was probably one of our busier months we've had thus far, with 2 special events and all of our regular programming. I'll start off with the Senior Center. We had 23 classes in the month of October with close to 2,000 participants. So Erica and her team there are doing a great job of bringing in folks for new programs and classes. Our IT programs there continue to be popular. The Tech Time with staff continue to bring in a lot of seniors that are interested in learning about some new computer skills or freshening up some of the skills that they already have. This last month, to note, they took an excursion to Oak Glen, and that was extremely well received. Erica actually went with them on that trip, and they had a great time going to some of the different locations up in Oak Glen. Took a bus that we used from the Hemet Valley or Hemet Unified School District, so we were able to get a lot of the folks on that. And they had a great time and are asking to go back already. So we're going to be exploring a possible additional trip this year for them as well. At the Lazy Creek Recreation Center, our after-school program continues to do really well. We had 24 participants this past month. Aisha's doing a really good job of bringing in some guest speakers. Just last week, they had the Cal Fire Department came out. They had one of their engines that came out, and the firefighters talked to the kids about fire safety and what it takes to become a firefighter. So they're having some really great professional or youth development there at those after-school programs that she has going on. So continues to be a popular draw. Along with the after-school program, our preschool program that we have had 69 participants. So that continues to be a great program for our younger folks that aren't in elementary yet. Then, of course, our 2 big special events in October. We had the Menifee Birthday Gala, which had approximately 110 that showed up to that event. It turned out to be a really great evening. We had a very nice band that played, a jazz band called Contrafunctus 9. We had some great food from BJ's, some wine tasting from Candy Crest Winery, and some beer tasting from Mason's right here in Menifee. And very well received event. I know Mr. Zimmerman was at the event, so thank you for coming to that. And thank you for the support. It was a nice evening.
With his date.
With his date, that's right. And then just 2 weekends ago, we had our Fall Festival, which was a collaborative effort with Menifee 24/7 and Remax, Cynthia and Amelka, the three agencies ourselves and those two individual groups, put together a great event which far exceeded our expectations in terms of attendance and also just overall quality and feedback that we received from the residents. We've been closely monitoring the social media posts from both our page, the city page, as well as Menifee 24/7's page, and I'd say it's probably been about 95 to almost 100% positive. It's been really great. We actually got compliments on something we thought we were going to have some difficult times with, which was the parking. Residents actually found that the parking was sufficient enough, and most of the surrounding homes, I saw families walking towards the event, so they were able to come out and enjoy it as well. So we were happy to see that. So our estimated attendance was between 4,500 and 5,000 for that event, so just a really great time. We had 199 participants / animals in our costume contest. Mr. Zimmerman was a judge for that, and we just had some really creative costume contest entries that were really amazing if you think about what the dedication that was put into those. So that was great to see as well. Our contract classes are starting to get, slowly but surely, are starting to get going. We have a couple of dance classes that we're offering now during the day. We've gotten those off the ground, and we are starting a Zumba class on Tuesday, with 8 participants. So the classes are starting to fill up a little bit, so we're excited for that because we have some really high quality instructors that are ready to share their passion for what they do. And then our sports fields had a little bit of a drop off just because we've tried to give Audie Murphy Ranch Sports Park, the soccer fields, a little bit of rest as we decide whether we're going to do renovations there or not. So soccer leagues have been off for a couple of weeks now, and they're all lining up at the door to try to get field space as soon as it becomes available. But we continue to offer fields for baseball groups and then groups on the non-lit fields as well. And as we go to the next slide on 9.3, you'll see some of the numbers that we've experienced thus far in our close to 4 months as a department, and I'm very excited to present these to you. We've had, and these are real numbers. These are numbers that are recorded at our centers through daily drop-in activities, and some of the numbers, like the amount of Fall Festival participants, is a little bit of an estimation. But if you were there, you would say that we might even be lowballing it at 4,500 to 5,000. But 36,119 participants thus far in our programs, parks, and activities since July, and we've grossed $94,975 in those months as well through revenue. So very happy with the team and what we've been able to accomplish thus far.
If I can interject here as well, by comparison, at least on the revenue side, we know that in a full year of activity, when Valleywide was the operator on contract, we only realized about $117,000 in revenue for the entire year. This is 4 months.
Awesome. This is impressive.
Very impressive. I just wanted to ask, and I'll just steal Bill's thunder just shortly. Are we considering having classes for seniors or otherwise at the water facility at Paris Menifee?
I'm going to let Robert answer that one.
Yeah, the question came up, I think, from our senior committee as well. We're looking into it. I have to talk with Riverside County, Brandy, Kyla Brown, and Scott,
Kyla. Yeah.
and determine what can be done, what can be offered. Part of the challenge is transportation. It's not in the middle of our city. It's just on the outskirts, obviously. So we'll have to work through all that. But we'll meet with them, and then I can bring back to you what we find.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gentlemen.
And we go to 9.4.
I think he's asleep.
Mark?
Let's see. Well, I think the guys are really doing a great job out there. As you can look at these numbers, right now we're sitting at 93% completion on everything out there. Year to date, 94%. And if you flip over to the next slide here, You can see we just had the skateboard company, the skate park company, come out and do some warranty work up there on your top. And then the restroom, we were getting some kids kicking in the walls, if you can see the holes there. So we've gone through and actually put some 3/4 inch plywood and, sturdied it up. It's not press board anymore. You can see the final picture there. Bryce and David really did a great job on it. So we're doing as much as we can with 2 guys, but now we have 3. So we can move forward a little bit more maybe. It's like a chess game out there, just all the time. So, and then down below, we just finished the LED upgrades over at the North Annex in our community centers. So I looked at it tonight on the way in, and I think the Arts Council is really going to like that. Good job. So, and then we took down the little, I don't know what you call it, trellis over there right near the skate park. We were having issues getting vehicles in and out of the park. So it was a bad design. Hopefully, future parks, we won't enclose each entrance. Yeah, we widened it, and Bryce and David poured a moker about there. So that's all complete, DG. Park West was nice enough to donate a little bit of DG to us right down the road. So, and we're getting ready to go out on bid for the tree trimming. So I think that's it.
And I want to just add here, all of these improvements on this slide in particular were done in-house. And on top of what the guys are doing in the irrigation repair and inspections for the routine maintenance, they find time to fit in these special projects, which is really the benefit of having an in-house team. We can tackle a lot of these deferred items right away. And you can even see Mark on some heavy equipment if you get the right time, the right day.
Oh, tell me so I can bring a camera.
That's right.
Yeah, I think the retrofit was, it was $200 and something for the whole center, new outlets, the whole thing, and it was a really bad design, so we pull them up and found a bunch of moisture under there. All the ballasts were all shot in it, so went through and just basically gutted them and redid the whole thing. So $200 and some plus our labor, so that's a pretty good deal. So, all right?
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Question, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tree trimming, what are we talking about?
Like he was talking earlier, the vehicle came on Lazy Creek and hit the one. Well, we had one of those eucalyptus come down and hit another one. So now we're down 2, and the head units themselves are about $1,200. So I started weighing it out and got some prices on LED new head units. So we're going to retrofit all new head units and LED lights at the same time. So
Your question regarding tree trimming,
that's what we're going to be doing. That Peterson and Lazy are the worst. So those 2 are a priority, and then we're probably going to have a couple at our center, and then maybe a couple out at Lolladera. So.
This maybe a once a year kind of thing?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll go out and assess them basically, and then we'll mark them and give them a count, and then we'll get our tree companies to go out there, and everybody gets a bid. And
so the intent here is to do a major trim on all of the inventory trees that we have. And part of Adame's base contract, their contract now is to do everything up to a certain height, but everything else is not covered. So
Yeah,
we know we
15
have
foot.
some things we need to be done.
Reaching out to other companies.
Exactly.
yeah, 15 foot. Now the new LLMD actually includes full tree trimming from Adame, so we don't have to. And we do have our hands full with that LLMD.
Yes.
It's in some rough shape. Just finished the final inspection today, and there's going to be a lot of work to be done out there. So, all right.
Thanks, Mark. 9.5? Oh,
Back again.
I hate to have you go back and forth.
No, it's okay. My pleasure. So I'll be talking about our upcoming special events that we have for the remainder of November, and then a couple in December that I'm going to speak about today as well. So next Wednesday is our very special Veterans Day event that we have over at Wheatfield Park. This one will be especially special. We had a local resident here in Menifee, Sergeant Ruiz, that unfortunately lost his life in Afghanistan in an accident a few weeks ago. And one of the components of this event will be a presentation of the military flag banners to his family, who has said they will be there. So very excited to have the opportunity for the city to recognize that. In addition to that, on a brighter note, we will have one keynote speaker, and we're going to have a medley of songs that recognize all the branches, theme songs, and we'll be recognizing each veteran in attendance for them to stand up and recognize them individually. In addition, we're going to. Yes,
Before
sir.
you go on, are we planning on having the mayor?
Yes, the mayor will
Here
be.
too?
Yes.
That's great.
The mayor is speaking. He's actually performing a re-enlistment ceremony for a chief petty officer that he apparently has a previous relationship with. So the mayor will be a part of the event.
Good.
One thing we're doing this year to hopefully attract some additional families to the event is we're adding one pre-event component, which is our Veterans Day essay contest. And Santa Rosa Academy, once again, was an active contestant, I guess, for those. And then our after-school program kids had an assignment to actually participate in the essay contest as well. So we hope that we'll have at least 20. We're getting them tomorrow. The staff and I will be judging them tomorrow. We'll be contacting the families, asking the winners, and all of them really to come out to the event to be recognized. In addition, at the conclusion of the actual ceremony portion of the event, we are going to have some picnic games, some arts and crafts and things of that nature for the families to enjoy after the Veterans Day ceremony portion is over. So that'll start at 11. And then we have free food coming for the first 100 in attendance. And then something new we're also trying that we actually found that another agency had done is a chalk walk, which is where individuals can come up and on the chalk leading up to where the tent will be, they're able to leave a message for a veteran or perhaps draw a picture if they're inclined to. So we'll be starting that off. We're going to have some of our staff go and kind of lead the way with writing a message or drawing a picture. But we'll be encouraging kids and families to leave their own message and let them know why Veterans Day is important to them.
It's a pity that it can't be put on some place which is more permanent.
Yes, and that's part of the reason that we wanted to do the Veterans Day essay contest. That's something that we'll keep doing moving forward, and hopefully something that will attract some more attention that can be a little bit more permanent. So after the Veterans Day event on December 5th, we have a very busy day. It's our Breakfast with Santa event, which will be at Case Siniceros. That's from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Breakfast, arts and crafts, festive music, and then, of course, pictures and a visit with Santa Claus. And then the same day is our grand opening of Spirit Park. And that'll be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have some great activities planned that day to kind of highlight the features of the park. We'll have a tennis clinic, which is going to be put on by an individual that's going to actually be doing tennis classes at that location, as well as a basketball clinic, which is going to be led by one of our part-time staff that has some pretty good history in playing basketball at a high level. And then, of course, we'll have the ribbon cutting, the street naming ceremony, and then we'll have free food for the first 100 in attendance for that as well.
So the ribbon cutting is on the 5th at 11 a.m.?
Correct.
Okay, gentlemen, make a note.
Yes,
We should
we'd love to
all
have
be
you
there. Go ahead.
And then Saturday, December 12th, is our big Christmas tree lighting ceremony over at the Roundabout. We have had a couple of committee meetings already, so we have a great response from the community once again to assist in putting that event together. The Menifee Valley Chamber of Commerce will be handling vendors. We have great support from our Public Works team as well as our Sheriff's Department. So really excited about that again. I know last year was the first year doing it there, and there was about 5,000 people, so we hope to have that, if not more. Do want to highlight the entrance this year. We're going to have 2 entrance points. One on the first entrance we're going to try to divert people to is La Piedra over by Santa Rosa, and then the Newport entrance and exit will be open as well. But we're going to really try to get folks to come in on La Piedra, which will make things a little bit easier as far as the traffic plan goes. And then finally, all throughout December, as we move towards Christmas, we started a new program which has been extremely successful, is our Santa on Wheels program. So that's where Santa Claus will go out to actual residents' homes and conduct about a 15-minute or a half-hour visit, depending on which one they choose. Everything from pictures with Santa to Santa can sometimes give out presents if the host so desires. And we've had, I believe we're at 45 or 50 registered already, and we only have about 5 spots left. And that goes all the way from December 13th through December 23rd. I believe it's every evening from 4 to 9 p.m. So that's going to be really excited about getting that off the ground and going and spreading some holiday cheer amongst our residents here. That concludes my special events report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just want to add one thing. Last year, we talked about doing the menorah lighting at some point.
I don't recall that from last year.
Yeah, we definitely, because I was the one who did it. But we need to do something like that. We can get a rabbi to come and do it with the city. But it's something that just about every city does anyway. I would like to I would like you to think about that with me.
Okay.
We can even arrange to have the menorah created. Somebody would make it big, one of the big things, like the one at Temecula or something. Okay?
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just want to compliment you on the fall festival. I went there, it was very impressive. And you guys did a fabulous job, especially with the kind of pressure you were under.
Couldn't have done it alone. We had Alan and Margarita were out there. Mark and his team were out there. Mark actually volunteered his time to help out with setup. So it was truly a team approach with Team CSD. So it was happy to be a part of it.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Then let us thank you, and let us move on to item 10. Are there any commission reports?
I have one.
Please.
Thank you. And I want to piggyback off of what Commissioner Gidrush just said. Great job to our Parks and Rec. You guys hit a home run with that fall festival, and it was enjoyable by everybody that was there. I want to make mention that that we're going to be losing our city clerk, Kathy Bennett, and she's just been wonderful. I've known her since 2008 when we first got started here, and really going to miss her advice and warm personality is just absolutely awesome. So wanted to mention that.
Oh, I absolutely concur.
Also,
Oh, please mention the going away party,
there is, and it's on the next Thursday,
It's
right?
Thursday.
The 12th at 6 p.m. over here at the brewery, Mason Jar Brewery, yeah. And unfortunately, I have a MSJC meeting that night, so I'm going to miss it sadly, but anyway, hopefully you guys can all
anybody
make
else
that.
who wants to.
Wanted to give you guys a quick update on something. As you recall, the Case and Acero Center has the Co-op North Annex is what it's called, and Arts Council Menifee's one of the primary users of that facility. It was a decision that was encouraged by this committee and approved by our council. Wanted to just share with you some good news. When Arts Council first was proposing to use that facility to the city, there was an application, and we made it clear that our intention was to make the best use of that facility and offer a lot of free programs to the community, especially low to moderate income families. And we weren't sure how we were going to be able to do that. There's obviously a cost factor when you have free classes. So we put our heads together and chased after a grant, and I'm happy to inform that Arts Council Menifee received $25,000 grant last week from Valley Health System. So, and that was earmarked just for programs at the co-op there. So we are going to have a lot of free programs and do exactly what we set out to do. So it's a great partnership between the Arts Council and the City of Menifee. The other thing is, I wanted to tell you that you're also familiar, I think I had introduced to you the idea of having our Menifee's Historical Association put together some monuments around the community, highlighting the pioneer families that were here. And we also included that in the capital improvement budget for the city, and our city council did approve that as a matching fund for what the county had promised to give us. And so just to let you know, next Tuesday, it's on the Board of Supervisors' agenda to award $10,000 to Menifee Valley Historical Association. So, the money's coming in. To anytime you want to get something done, you need to have a facility, you need to have money, and you need to have people. And so, the money part's been a great week here for Menifee on both of those. Also, well, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I have.
Anybody else? All right, let's go to item number 11. Are there any future agenda requests? I just want to ask a question. We all know that there was an incident that took place at Wheatfield. Of course, Wheatfield is not monitored by us, it's valley-wide. But it happened at 2:30 in the morning. A child was shot. Of course, we all ask ourselves, what was the child doing at 2:30 in the morning? All right, probably getting drugs or whatever, but the point is, I don't think that there's anything that we can do to stop people from going there in the middle of the night. All right, so it's unfortunate that that happened. The police chief has told me that shootings have happened in the city. It's just that they haven't happened at any park until now. So just be aware of it. And I really don't see what we could do to stop it. So if anybody has anything that they wish to say about it, by all means.
Just one remark. Towards the end of the council meeting yesterday, Councilman Leesmeyer asked for a workshop to discuss ways to better fund the police. And staff is going to be working on that and then come back to the council so they can discuss it.
Well, that's
really what it
wonderful.
boils down to is having enough manpower to keep an eye on things.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't see where that would have made a difference, even if there were more police.
And it circles back to what we've talked about having a docent or somebody. who keeps
Yeah,
an eye on
but even at 2:30 in the morning, you wouldn't have
In the
one.
morning, they're just wide open.
You know, I mean, it's not a time where you would put anybody there. So,
If I could offer up, the work that we're trying to do in the CIP to install security cameras throughout, certainly they capture things when they happen, even at 2:30 in the morning, but they also serve as a deterrent. I know that right now at Wheatfield, I don't think there's any surveillance in the park. And it only takes about a week, sometimes less, for people to see that that's there. And it reminds them, oh, I'm going to take this type of negative business somewhere else. So
But-
that does help to a
does-
degree.
just as a quick question, since it's not the cities, Wheatfield is not
Correct.
the cities, would it be something that Valleyway would have to put in?
Yes.
That's what I thought. So,
Thinking of us as the city, we could even put up dummy cameras at this point. Fabricate something, turn it over to Mark, find something that looks like a camera and hang it up.
I just want to add that, we did have some issues when I first came on board, and I actually have the lights on it before. At least it gives some vision out there. You shut those lights off, and man, it's like a cockroach. So I'm just saying it might cost us a few more bucks, but it makes me feel more secure, and we've had very little issues since we've done that.
So part of Mark's workload, as you saw, some of it was the LED conversions, but we're also ensuring, well, I know he's ensured that some of the lights standards that were in city parks that were functioning are now functioning. So it's a lot brighter.
So then,
and that's wonderful, except that, as I said, Wheatfield is not the cities.
well, at least the jurisdiction we have, we can talk about it.
Right.
The LEDs
In our
will save us-
jurisdictions, we can talk about it.
The LEDs will save us electricity, so you could leave them on longer without burning up as much money, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a tenth of the cost. It's great.
And that's wonderful. We could leave it on all night.
Yeah, and that's good. You go and watch, you have the lights on, and we could shut them all off, and you go, oh my gosh, that thing just boom, it's pitch dark, so.
Anyway, just for everyone's information. If there's nothing else,
I do have one
Oh,
other
I'm
thing
sorry.
that
Go
I
right
would,
ahead.
in sort of out of the norm, I think it's probably important to add to future agenda items now, the Parks Master Plan draft review. We are
By all
meeting,
means.
we're meeting with the consultant next week, and intend to have that draft in hand days after that, which we'd like to bring to the next meeting if it's ready. If it's not, we would push it to the first meeting in December, but I anticipate it will be ready for the next meeting of the commission.
Excellent.
Yeah,
The one this month?
yes,
Anything else, gentlemen?
We'll have a consultant there too.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, if there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
And second. Gentlemen, you really want to stay here?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor? All right, we are adjourned.